and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite leftist gaming podcast. I am your host, Ben, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts.
I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
What up? It's Andrew.
We are talking about streaming services today. That has been the news of the week. Sony making waves, really kind of throwing their hats, I would say, really officially in the ring with the current landscape of the marketplace. But before we get into things, we had our own experiences with the online subscription services the other night while we were doing our weekly Comrades gaming stream on Twitch. Go ahead and follow us at twitch.tv/campaign_comrades, where we stream every week. But we were playing a little bit of the new Mario Kart expansion courses, and we were having some, we'll say, interesting results with the online play, all tied up with the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. Say, Matt, why don't you break it down for us? What was going on?
My primary issues weren't entirely related to the subscription service as much as they're just the dog shit connection between Joy-Cons and the Nintendo Switch. Like when you take the Joy-Cons off the Switch, they just don't connect. It's just their thing. They constantly DC from the system, so you sit there floating in air on your screen while everyone else gets to start the race while you're sitting there waiting for the controller to turn back on, align, and connect.
I'm sure the online lag wasn't helping you very much either.
The online lag was also super noticeable for me, at least. Definitely like 100+ ping, the feeling of.
So I just feel like the online infrastructure just isn't there yet for these things.
I mean, Nintendo's never cared about their online connection, really. Like, that's why they always do peer-to-peer, because it's just easier for them. Like, that's why if you play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate online, it's also like that, where like whoever has the worst connection in the match is the dominant connection, which means that when you're playing Lil Timmy playing on McDonald's Wi-Fi on his Switch, sitting in the ball pit, covered in piss,
you get to kick his ass,
folks.
I don't.
No, he kicks your ass.
He gets to dominate the ping connection, and you have to play down to his ping.
So yeah, can you explain for the stupid people, including me,
like me,
what the PvP versus having like a server?
A dedicated server means that their hardware controls the connection.
Their meaning Nintendo or
whoever owns the server. When you do peer-to-peer connection, you're taking the other people out of it, and it's just connected to the players in the match. And it's easier on their end because there's less stuff you have to upkeep.
So I understand the reasons why, but to break it down to like 5-year-old level, for little Timmy in the ball pit, covered in piss, how does peer-to-peer work? Because I don't fully understand it.
So we're in a match with, let's say, 10 people in a full Mario Kart cup.
Mm-hmm.
That means there are 10 people with 10 separate internet connections going into that lineup. The game will then look at those 10 internet connections and we'll find the worst one. And we'll say, this is the person who we have to match the game to so that everyone has the same experience.
Got it.
And then you combine that with how now everyone is, pinging, which is the communication distance we're talking about between these points. Because, information travels fast, but it doesn't travel instantly. And that's what you get when you call ping. That's your millisecond delay. So like 100 ping is 100 millisecond delay, which is, a tenth of a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was real fun. Just, as I'm cruising by, on my little trike with Waluigi, just, schooling fools just to see Tanuki Matt just go off a ramp just into an invisible wall.
So drastically too. Just like
it was
just hitting it hard.
There were certain points where I figured out if I stopped drifting, it was better because the buffer on the drifting input was fucking me, because I would take my thumb off the stick because like, okay, I'm not drifting, I don't need to hold it this way. And then be like, oh nope, you're holding the stick neutral now and you're drifting, because now I see your drifting input. then it drifts you the other direction. You're now drifting against the curve, which is super cool.
Perfect.
Were you playing with the Joy-Cons slotted into the
when I play Joy-Con free, I play them separate, 2 hands dangling.
Absurd to me.
Yeah, that's
psychopath.
Absolutely
that's psychotic behavior.
Yeah. Lock you up. It's just typical Reddit behavior.
No, absolutely not. I'm telling you, that is the best way to play with the Joy-Cons so that you keep
average Reddit user behavior.
You keep your wrists pronated so that you're not, crossing your forearm bones, so you don't get any of that nice carpal tunnel.
It's for ergonomics.
just going into the meme here, just diving deep into it with the Reddit paragraphs as well.
You say they can't get you if you just keep going.
I'm telling you, try it for yourself and see how it feels.
I do agree that like my wrists, particularly with the Joy-Cons, my hands go numb quicker than like any other controller.
Because the Joy-Cons have no shape. And like that's the sacrifice they made for a thin device. And that's like, welcome to design.
I'm willing to pay the price.
Look at the Steam Deck and like how much they built out that grip.
That's
so
a
you have like an actual controller.
That is a chunky boy.
We had 3 different variations of driving going on last night. We had Matt with the separated Joy-Con psychopathic behavior, Ben using a Pro controller driving with the stick, and me using a Pro controller driving like I had
with tilt controls.
wheel.
With
tilt controls.
With tilt controls. And of course, who was dominant?
Always
Traditionalist here. The old way proves the right way once again, folks.
But I'm not convinced that it's your skills. I'm convinced it's the Waluigi cheese. It's like playing Birdo in Mario Party.
You can't keep my the pure raw sexuality of Waluigi down. You just can't, particularly in the Parisian atmosphere of I'm just like constantly looking down on Paris Promenade, just like this isn't real culture. I'm above this.
Let's talk about Jack and Daxter.
Jack and Daxter.
That game definitely had some serious undertones. But yeah, so that's been some of our experience with Nintendo's subscription service, which we'll get into a little bit later with some. I found a cool kind of graphic that really breaks down comparison between the 3 major ones. But then I've actually had a bit of a heated moment myself with some recent Game Pass usage. I've been really enjoying playing a couple new indie third-party releases that were like day and date releases. Tunic and Weird West, both of them have been really interesting and really fun to play, but both of them like have really weird connectivity requirements, particularly at the beginning with initial setup. Weird West in particular, it was like the handshaking between like the Xbox app and the game launcher was just not working correctly. And like in order to start the game first, it's like you got to select a profile, and there was no profiles to select. So I had to reboot the game 4 times, I think, before the handshake finally took place.
There's people who wonder why I don't like Game Pass.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Even like say Tunic, I didn't have so much of that problem with, but you see every time it's you're logged in with your internet connection the whole time. You must have that connection for that profile.
Who remembers
make all
back when Microsoft at that Xbox One launch, that was one of their big, always online when you play your games.
We've talked about that, and that was like a huge thorn in their side for a while.
And they've just found a way of rebranding that and selling it to people in a different light, and now people suck it down.
It's on the sneak. It's on the sneak though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tucked into their later tier.
Yeah, because it's just repurposing old like IP essentially, or like old marketing, and with the eye to becoming the metaverse. I think it would like be really interesting.
Well, they just didn't want you to actually own the game. They wanted it to be once it was put into your Xbox, it was done. You couldn't resell it or anything like that. And that's, again, Game Pass continues to work on that because it's, you don't own the game.
Ben just
You're
told me I
paying
was
for a service
pooping in
that never-
chat.
Yeah, sorry, we got a quick little sidebar. We've been having some technical things with what we're calling popping. And yeah, I was noticed a bit of Mike's, and yeah, accidentally told
me
he
I was
pooping a bit.
I almost checked
Matt,
my
I was
asshole.
impressed you kept your shit together. I saw that. I was like, oh.
Sorry. Continue.
Well, I mean, so I was just, my point was that like these tech companies, especially like video games, I think there's always this eye to the metaverse, or like, what will become like Web3.
Web3.
Whether it was like conscious or not, like this was always kind of been the steps that they've slowly been taking.
Well, and I mean, I would say it's probably not conscious. At least it wasn't at that point, because it's just their goal is to just make you use their system for like every waking hour of your life.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you're going to spend more money in the system.
They're trying to create worlds and ecosystems are the terms that they'll use that you will live your whole existence in, so that they can, again, squeeze every single cent out of you that they can at any possible time.
Just extract all of it from you. Give us everything.
You'll have nothing too.
But I mean, the fucking the handshake shit with Game Pass, I hate it. I hate it so much. It's the same issue that I have with any of the like EA games that you play.
Yeah,
EA Play sucks. What is
added
handshake? Is this a metaphorical handshake of the two things?
When you have
linking
two
up?
services that need to communicate with each other, the handshake is them both completing that.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's them giving each other
Permission.
It's them saying like there is a license.
You have
here.
Xbox Game Pass, which means you have a right to play this game without owning it.
Yeah, so EA Play is the perfect example. Like EA Play on its own, it's like downloaded on my computer, cannot function, does not function, will not let me log in.
It's still in beta. It's still in beta.
True. It does say at the top. It does at the top always say beta. But yeah, the only way to get it to work, as Matt was the one to figure it out, is you search the game in the Xbox app, it then clicks and takes you over to EA, and then it logs you in. Because I even tried to log in with my Microsoft account, as it's connected, and it says, like invalid, does not work. Some fucking bullshit.
The fact that it's in beta is like another point that we've brought up, that like, the consumer ends up being the fucking quality assurance tester for these big fucking like AAA studios and shit, where like the EA's been in beta and available
over a year.
Yeah, for like over a year now.
Over a year. It's got to be over a year. I've used it since at least May of last year, and it was obviously in beta then.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's grouped in with your Game Pass.
I know we're talking about beta in the terms of development, but I can't help but think you're calling it a beta, like a beta cuck.
Yeah. A soy beta cuck. Yeah.
It is a beta cuck.
You can still like do like an EA subscription on your own, right? It's it's been in beta, and
you could do it through Steam
subscription.
Yeah, sort of.
You do it through Steam as well. Yeah, sort of ish.
Like again, like more. I hate when services link to services and then they have to link together, and they have to just an annoying interface that shouldn't have to be there if they're going to be doing that. Like hide that shit. You're better than that, developers.
Yeah, so and it's like the same thing, Ben, that where you, even through Steam, you have to find the game in Steam that says like it's an EA Play
launch
game,
it with
download
EA Play.
it in Steam, then launch it in Steam, which launches it through EA Play and allows you to play the game.
And the thing that sucks about this is that as this has now become and will continue to be pushed by the console creators and
surprised Sega
Microsoft
hasn't fucking dangled their own shit into a subscription service.
Well,
like that's such
the
a
thing.
Sega
like,
thing to do. Sorry.
Right, but there, no, you're helping make my point that I was about to say, which is as this becomes the mainstream for how we play video games, all these larger developers are going to do the same shit that EA has and like be like, Game Pass, you want our games? Make it hook up to our own app that like, people can subscribe to.
Rockstar, they're calling, like,
Yeah,
please
exactly.
subscribe to Grand Theft Auto Plus for $6
Actually,
a month.
I'd like to point out that I will harp on Microsoft for everything they do that is bad, but I will say that they did kill the Bethesda launcher and like praise the fucking Lord.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, Microsoft will just buy up all the
developers.
developers,
Then they'll kill all of the
problem.
interfaces because they won't exist anymore. And
Capitalist
all
monopolies.
It's Highlander. There can only be one.
Capitalist monopolies will solve the problems.
Perfect. I will now just plug myself into the system and become a cog.
All right, so all this has been like
too late.
all this has been preamble, to the major news of the week that Sony's long rumored Project Spartacus now just officially.
I'm so sad it's not actually Spartacus.
It's just PlayStation Plus, but let's call it PlayStation Plus 2.0 just to avoid confusion.
Even though the base tiers are the same.
In reference, exactly. But I think it's worth getting out of the way at the top. The inevitable comparison, before we go in and break down the different tiers and what we think about how, this strategy for Sony going forward and what this means. The inevitable comparison is that none of these tiers offer what has essentially been agreed by analysts across the board is like the big draw, the big get for Xbox Game Pass, the day one first and third party releases. Say again, I have been enjoying Tunic and Weird West, both third party indie studios that were day one releases on Game Pass, something that I've definitely benefited from. But that is something that that Xbox still remains apart from. Before I say open it to you guys, I still am of the opinion that yes, while it benefits me as the consumer in the short term, it's only bad for the long term. That I guess it's worth kind of jumping to now that surprisingly actually astute analysis by Sony Interactive Entertainment's president and CEO Jim Ryan himself stated that like it's bad for the developers. The games make less money, and if there's anything that Sony exclusives don't need any help with, it's selling copies and making money.
And that's the whole thing they're doing with the game trials. If they give you a game trial of those games, that makes you buy the game because you see how good it is. That's what their angle is.
Jim Ryan called it their good virtuous cycle with studios. And he's not wrong. It's where the investment delivers success, which enables yet more investment, which delivers yet more success.
Yeah, think about Guerrilla Games.
Right. It's like it's only like put more money into their studios.
Like Housemarque with Returnal.
I mean, you'll get the comparisons that, and this was also recent news that like Microsoft paid somewhere between $5 to $10 million for the rights to Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. That's nothing compared to like what the, what actual, good sales numbers are like.
I don't remember how long ago. I think it was back in February. There was a thing on the sales numbers of Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it was just the European market, but I think it was 83% of the European sales were on Sony, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5.
Back to the Jim Ryan discussing like streaming being less profitable for the developers. It's just an astute observation in the sense that like that's happening in every portion of like streaming and entertainment. We've seen that as a criticism of Spotify with musicians. We've seen that with actors and their contracts being whittled down and changed based on streaming during the pandemic. For big movies, Scarlett Johansson.
The overall quality of those movies and shit also went down the toilet. Like,
I mean, yeah, but my point being is like, we were discussing the licensing, and that's a part of the reason why or an excuse why they end up, giving the developers a shit end of the deal or the actors a shit end of the deal is like, because there's so much licensing going on with streaming, it's like an added cost, but it's always an added cost that, you know, the corporation is going to somehow shift off their own profits or their own profit margins. And you know, it is shitty to continue seeing this streaming model kind of hurt developers and like a worker's bottom line.
Yeah, I don't see how you can see game streaming as, you know, anything but incentivizing making cheap games, and, you know,
Just
again,
hurts the
driving
art.
cost down. It's the because it's the only way to make them feasible. It's the only way to make them financially feasible with
They're just
you
going to
know, the
become
actual
mobile
returns
games.
that they're getting. Yeah. And again, not to like sing Jim Ryan's praises, because in that same statement he goes on to say that, you know, the world is changing very quickly, so nothing is forever. You know, this could change at some point.
Well, and it's
But
like identifying what's going on and then being like, well, we're still going to engage in it.
Yeah, well, of course, you know, that's just you know, par for the course. But yeah, it restricts their ability to, you know, invest in these studios.
And I think it'll be interesting on that point just to see, like, maybe he throws that out there, like, never say never. And I wonder if that never say never situation just becomes anything that's also released day one by Xbox.
I was wondering potentially if that meant like
Kind of protects
because Sony's
their
been
own
making that big
developers.
push for live service recently with some of their acquisitions. I wonder if they're maybe going to push some of their live service games as like day one on certain tiers.
Well, because often
They
those are
own
free to
Bungie
play
now, right?
anyways.
So like Destiny 3 day one on premium.
Yeah.
It is in the developer's interest to not be on day one streaming. If they're selling hard copies, like, you don't want to be streaming day one, because people are going to flock to that streaming service, which only makes the, you know, it's the same thing with the Black Widow movie, that it wasn't in theaters, so it wasn't actual theater revenue, it was the subscription revenue from the like Disney Plus that wasn't like going to Scarlett Johansson. So, you know, it is up to these developers to like continue pushing on these contracts, which sucks that like they have to in and of themselves, like individually, be like their own vanguard for, you know, protecting their interests, which is also a consumer interest. I don't know. Andrew, go ahead.
No, yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think it's almost a short-sighted decision on the developer's part to like agree to this, but at the same time, they're in a pretty strong sense forced to make it, because it's like Microsoft could just say, all right, well, if you don't deal, we're not going to let your game run on any of our systems, so fuck off. And like then who are they selling to at all? Like that's the kind of the leverage that they're up against. And I think that's kind of why they end up even making these deals in the first place, because otherwise it's like, why would you do this as an independent developer? Why would you give up all of the upside of your game exploding?
We've talked about
that's
how
what you're doing.
Microsoft can just throw around the cash right now to get these people to go day one Game Pass and do the stuff that, you know, makes them money right now quickly. That's a lot of money up front, but it's just something that, like, it's not sustainable. Like, none of the streaming services ever last when they get past this point. You know, it always has to start changing.
Well, and then those contracts that, you know, the money that Microsoft could throw around now goes away, not even, you know, necessarily because Microsoft is incapable of giving it out. They just get to a place in the market.
They know they're not going to be running this streaming service on a loss forever, and that's their goal.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of Twitch when, like, you know, they were giving out these huge contracts to streamers, and, you know, as a way of like retaining them, you know, it sounded good at the time. It was big money up front. And now those contracts have gone away because, you know, Twitch has gained whatever level of popularity they needed in their boardroom to say, like, okay, we could, you know, cut back on what we're offering as a baseline, or, you know, what we're negotiating with. And I think that's the same thing that's going to happen with these developers and, you know, Microsoft, you know, Game Pass, and if Sony goes this model as well.
Absolutely. No, it's like these are mechanisms for, you know, power building. essentially.
Mhm.
And it's the ability, yes, to operate at a loss, to eventually, saturate the market with your own presence to the point where you just are the only thing left, and they've got no other options but to deal. And it's just
Just gives me
power at its
the
still
cable
to
guy from
its
South Park rubbing his
core.
nipples feel.
That's absolutely what they're doing.
All right, so I think it's
Time
we
to
should,
discuss the tiers.
dive into what the actual tiers are made up of, so we can
Tier
actually
list time.
make it or so we can kind of get a better understanding of what Sony is after with this thing, because I think the analysis is different because of that key difference of none of the day and date launch stuff. It's them focusing on back catalog primarily. But okay, so let's get into it. So PlayStation Plus is merging their two previous subscription services, we'll say PlayStation Plus 1.0 and PlayStation Now. PlayStation Plus 1.0 was essentially the exact same thing as what the base level tier is now, which is just
it's also fundamentally the same as Xbox Live Gold.
It is, it gives you your online multiplayer access. You get
two free games
from a small library of say 2 monthly free downloadable games.
Granted, there is a star
storage.
there, an asterisk, and they've been doing 3 since the PS5 launch. 1 PS5 game, 2 PS4.
Interesting. I did not know that. And this is coming from their own marketing, so I don't know why they didn't tout those numbers.
Well, it's because they know they're not going to be doing the PS4 forever. Because the PS4 is going to be dying. So they're going to it's just going to be 2 PS5 games is what it's going to end up being.
So this has no change to what PS Plus is now, including the price. Those who are already subscribers who take no action will just automatically move into this tier with no change in service or any additional benefits. It's from the next tier on where you start getting in the mix of PS Now, which was also previously a $10 a month service. Getting ahead of myself. The PlayStation Plus Essential, the base tier, it goes for the same price of $10 a month, $25 quarterly, or $60 yearly.
Yep. So Sony's always been pretty aggressive with their yearly pricing versus their monthly pricing.
And I think that's what we're going to see when we get to the other ones, and particularly when we compare the services together.
Yes.
That's really the lane that they're taking here, and I think that gets to the finer analysis of what Sony's expectations are for this service. But yeah, so
one thing on the pricing, just like in general with these like streaming services or just like monthly pricing schemes in general, it's interesting to me when they move away from allowing the monthly payments and make it only a yearly. Like, Matt was saying that Sony's aggressive with their yearly pricing. There's some models where you can only pay the annual fee or the annual price, but they advertise it as like the $9.99 a month.
The SolidWorks creator license that they just released is $100 a year. And it's one of those, I think a lot of software companies just prefer to do yearly because it's less, again, handshaking between user and them. And also yearly.
I didn't think of it like
with
that.
Software usage like that. I think it's a little bit different than these.
Yeah, I was just laying it out.
These because for them that it's more of, I think, of a practical logistical thing.
Yeah,
this is a money making thing.
Yeah.
This is.
I was also going to bring up that yearly subscriptions are something that you can forget about a little easier, and then they happen, and then you like, oh well, I paid for it a week ago. I might as well.
Well, and that's my point, kind of, is like with the yearly subscription is like you are milking the consumer for more money on a potential lapse of memory to renew the subscription. One big chunk you're getting them instead of if you forget for 2 months and it's $20 as opposed to the $100, that you pay each year. And what made me think of it was I was looking at City Bike, and they advertise as a monthly fee, or like a monthly payment or price, but you could only pay annually.
Yeah, there's no option.
No
There's
option.
no like
there's no
more
option.
expensive monthly
and
option?
I know that software does that. Like there's a lot of software that does it, and I've always seen Sony push for the annual as well, and like even advertise that way. And so like to me, it's like a matter of time until they just make it an annual, because it is,
yeah. When you have the choice,
profitable.
I don't know why you would go monthly unless you only want it for like a month.
The reasoning is behind I have it down here in the notes, is it is a more the aggressive annual pricing wards off the industry term of churn, allowing for the the more consistent revenue stream, and say there'll be the upticks and down driven by certain content releases. So things like Game Pass that offer the monthly thing, you there's a game coming out that's going to be on Game Pass day one.
You'll see a 1 month uptick.
You up your subscription, or you subscribe for a month, play that game, and now you've paid $10 for a game, and that's all you're gonna.
Might I point out that Game Pass
Microsoft
is a
and
thirsty
Sony.
bitch, because Game Pass gave me a free month. I used it, didn't use it again for 3 months, and then it was like, oh, we see you didn't up your subscription, so here's 3 more free months. Please reactivate the automatic subscription and forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. But like the thing about this, the analyst that you just read that wards off churn, is like, not only is it warding off churn of like their numbers of subscribers, but it makes their revenues more easily predictable, and they can more easily forecast them, which the market likes. The market likes that predictability, the consistency. So that ultimately means stock goes up, and that's what the CEO of Sony wants to point to as he speaks to the board of directors every year. So that's the real driver there, 100%.
And that's exactly why the yearly prices, in terms of value, it seems to make that logical sense, that if you're going to be subscribed for 12 months, then why wouldn't you do the year? Even if you, I know I'm a victim of that, even with the basic PlayStation Plus 1.0. I think I maybe downloaded one free game.
I will admit that if you keep on top of what they're releasing, they do release some pretty cool games for free throughout the lifetime of the service. It's just if you're
I want to add one more thing there, which you said, Ben, which is that with these sales, though, Sony, to them, it's much more valuable if they can say, we have X number of people that we're collecting $10 a month from, because that's really how they do this with this $120. They're going to say they're making $10 off you monthly, but they'd much rather know for certain how many people they're getting $10 a month for the next year than have to kind of guess how many people they'll get the $18 a month from each month. That might fluctuate pretty significantly depending on availability of games, etc.
Similarly related, did they say anything about the PlayStation Plus collection? Because right now, if you have PlayStation Plus on PS5, you get that it's 20 something games, the PS Plus collection for free.
Right.
That has God of War. I think Bloodborne is in there. Persona 5, which is leaving if you want to grab that. Is that still included in that base tier? I don't think
they
so.
Have not.
Right?
They did not talk about that particularly, because and I think what's the clearest evidence of that is how they have mentioned that, say, God of War will be in one of their is one of the few games they've listed that will actually be in this library.
Yeah.
As we go on. So let's move into that next tier. PlayStation Plus Extra. It's all the same tiers as all the same benefits as Essential, but it adds a catalog of up to 400 of the most, quote, enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, which include the PlayStation Studios catalog as well as third-party partners. These games are all for download, which is an important distinction. This
That's
is not streaming.
It's
This
a
is
pretty
this is all
sizable
for download.
catalog of games, to be honest.
And the price goes $15 a month, 40 quarterly, $100 a year. But yeah, I think, Matt, that's a great number, but I think it's going to come down.
It's going to come down to
what is the catalog?
Is it
What are
Dynasty
those 400
Warriors
games?
1 through 27?
I told you I'm actually, no, that's in the next category. Go ahead.
It's just all their train sims.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, we'll obviously have to see the games, but just thinking of the raw, like, stats there, that's about the number. Like, I have less than that total if you count my Steam library, my Switch library, and my PlayStation library.
Yeah.
If you combine them all, that's...
What's important to note again is that this is PS4 and PS5 only.
Yep. Well, and they said third party as well. So that means that it's not just Sony exclusives. There's going to be, a mix of popular
generation.
Yeah.
And they said most
generation.
enjoyable.
Yeah. So, like, obviously GTA is going to be on there, GTA 5. Like, that'll be, because they pushed that really hard for the PS5 update. I'm sure you'll see, like, Cyberpunk in there. Like, anything that they pushed really hard on the big new updates, like Witcher 3 when it gets its new update. Like, those will be the types of games you'll see too.
I do think this is the most forgettable tier, though.
Yes.
I do think that it's
Plus
gonna
extra.
probably, I would think it's just going to have...
you're going to see more
the
people
fewest-
in premium.
Yeah. It's either going to be, they're going to stay in just an essential, or they're going to go full hog.
Yeah. Which is what I'm doing.
I'm sure whenever there's like a 3-tier like that middle tier is just doo-doo.
Yeah. So then we get to the, the big boy, PlayStation Plus Premium, everything from the first two tiers. So that for the 400 games from PS4 and PS5, and then an additional 340 games from every other era, save the Vita of PlayStation. So we're talking original PlayStation, PS2. That's what I just said, without save the Vita.
I said, why not?
I don't know.
Because most of
they
the
are including the PSP.
Most of the good Vita games are available on PS4. Is the real answer.
But then, so those are all available for streaming and download. Then you get PS3 games that are only available via cloud streaming.
Yeah. PS3 emulation.
The thing that I think Mike made a brief good point about, though, is that the middle tier really is only here to make people look at it and go, oh, that seems like a good deal. And then they see the premium and they're like, oh,
that's an even better deal.
Only $3 more a month. Fuck
only
it.
20 extra bucks a year.
Like that's exactly.
That's
like,
what I say.
That's
when
the
I see
only
that.
purpose of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and so another thing worth noting, this is the only place where PC users can enter into the equation, where before PC users were able to pay $10 per month or $60 per year for PS Now to be able to stream games to the PC.
Have they
they've got to
outright
upgrade to
said
premium.
that that's what the PC price is? Because I doubt the fact that like the base tier doesn't do anything for PC. I feel like there's going to be, because they already said the regional difference, like there's regional pricing based on streaming.
So this is the only thing where PC is mentioned at all in the entire announcement. But yes, then that is worth bringing up. They are then having there is technically a fourth tier called PlayStation Plus Deluxe, which is only in select markets without streaming. It allows them to do all of it's all the stuff for premium at a lower price.
Because there's no PS3 streaming.
Yeah, there is no. The only thing you don't get, are the PS3 games. And you can get all the other things for download. So there are certain countries and regions where the streaming capabilities are not available,
or just doo-doo.
Not there.
So they we here in the US will not see this
in the Imperial Core.
I would just hold off, and like they're obviously gonna, when it comes time for launch, have more discussion about it. I bet you that the PC price will stay at what PS Now is at $60 a year, because there's nothing that base tier does for PC, and that's my only logic behind that.
It is surprising. I was honestly surprised, but as it stands now, it is it's either 18 per month or 100 $20 per year for any PC user.
So I have two things to add. One, Sony should just partner up with Elon so he can provide free Wi-Fi so they can have streaming in those countries.
You could just beam
Problem solved.
Beam PS3 games into their brains.
You just
Exactly.
killed me like 40% inside.
Second, I knew you'd like that one. Second, I am a Sony simp, I will admit, and have both the
Sony
current Sony pony, current PS Now, which I've paid for via an annual subscription.
I think it's $60
However, it is. However, I pay for PS Plus with a monthly subscription. And what the hell is going to happen to my prepaid annual? Like, I'm going to get screwed here. I'm going to end up
getting charged twice.
They're going to give you a choice. Is what I've seen. You're going to like get
one or
a
the
choice.
Other. Yeah.
They better let me just pay.
But this is actually a better deal for you.
The $60 difference. No, this ultimately will save me
for the same amount of money annually. If you'd bought them both annually at $120 a year, you're getting a lot more for what you got before.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, Andrew, you're one of the lonely 5% of PlayStation users to subscribe to PS Now.
And nice. Like that may be like one of the, you could put that on your resume.
Right? I feel like that should be.
It's like at the end of the year when Spotify puts out their listen stats and you find out your top 0.5% of like Taylor Swift listeners or something like that. Now that you live in
Sony should be
California.
giving you stock options is what I'm saying, because you're a loyal customer.
I just want to say 5% sounds bad, but in reality, I'm in the 95th percentile. So fuck off.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I think I saw the number something like only 3 million. There have only been 3 million PS Now subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, I only used it for like 2 months.
Dog shit.
And I played some PS3 Ratchet and Clanks, some Infamous, and then I think I did like 2 minutes of like Jack 2. And it was just awful.
Nice. I haven't had a Sony console since PS2. Slim.
Gotta change that.
I cannot wait for some of these PS2 games to come back. Like I said, if the premium tier has the NFL and NBA Street games, which I don't know if they will, because those are technically, I think those are EA
licensing
games.
Yay!
So that
we might be able to have them on EA Play. And then, like, can we play them
not
online?
Right now, though.
No, they're not. Fuck.
No.
Those are such good games.
Honestly, I think the other one I was talking about, the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith game, I think was also an EA license at the time.
Probably was.
Now that I'm thinking about it, fuck.
You could play Force Unleashed.
So I'm really gonna have to I guess look at I put so many hours into those games on the PS2.
I played a lot of Cabela's Deer Hunter.
Nice.
Was that like a free game you got for buying a gun?
Probably like in the Walmart $5 bin.
Hilarious. Those are the games that just don't get made anymore. The ones that are seemingly like just marketing, but they still tried to sell as like a real video game.
I think they do sometimes. We just like don't notice them. Because like we know what we want now. We're not children like searching through games, looking at everything.
Like, does anyone remember when Burger King released 3 video games with the release of the Xbox 360?
Kart Racer? You take that. You ever popped a wheelie with the King, man? Like, come on.
With the King
on the Burger Mobile.
I mean, you were just in Riley Lucaria Academy with all the Burger King ass masks.
There we go. We got it in.
Always.
But yeah, so like if we think of this as really their take on the streaming side of things, this is only going to be good news for them. In terms of number wise, that like we said, the 5% for PS Now is, I think we can basically say a failure.
You can basically say that 5% will be included in this new group, but it'll also be a lot bigger. Like you're definitely going to have more than 5% of your PS Plus subscribers now in that top tier, you know?
You will no longer be elite, Andrew. But
I know, unfortunately.
You should be filing like a class action or some shit with this other 5% to be getting stock options as like the most loyal and simplified Sony
Just ask them
ponies.
for a plaque.
Look at the revenue streams I've provided you.
For years.
Years.
Yeah, I think I paid for PS
point.
Now for a couple years without thinking about it, and just like kept paying it without using it.
But I do think, you know, I do want to comment just there, but because I think this is somewhat of a strategy shift from Sony, for sure. The PS Now was really just a way to say, oh, we have a service that somewhat looks like Xbox Game Pass. This is now Sony actually trying to somewhat compete in that space. They're not doing the exact same thing with day one releases.
Simply to be a form of backwards compatibility for the PS3. Because the PS4 couldn't play PS3 games, so they created PS Now as a channel to get those games to that console for you, because that was all it really was for at the time.
I guess that's before Game Pass got big, so that's fair. But
that was like
Game
2016.
Pass wasn't even around.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. Game Pass is after that. So
how they managed,
but beyond that,
but like how they managed that afterwards, definitely
right.
Like,
it wasn't a business.
Yeah, they were more
looking
at the GeForce Now type subscription services as what they were emulating than anything like a Game Pass model that you see now.
And that's fair. But what I think this means is it's a strategy shift for Sony, which ultimately, you know, people might be thinking that Microsoft would be disappointed or upset by this announcement, but I think this is only a benefit to Microsoft too, because it helps the streaming service gain more just general market share, and that only will boost the amount of people that subscribe to Game Pass as well, because it reinforces the idea of that this is where the industry's going. It's momentum.
Puts more money into the services, which makes them upgrade their hardware more, which makes them better, which gets more people into them. They get more streaming, less dedicated hardware on the user end.
Right. It's a cycle that's virtuous to them.
It's cementing itself, you know, as the, you know, standard practice of the industry, and you know, getting investors on board. This becomes you know, less risky, less financially unstable for them.
Well, and like, you know, we've said before, because of the model of corporations in America and having, you know, the shareholder model of boosting the stock price, because Game Pass has become so, you know, potentially lucrative and has created that market, Sony like has to make this change if they are to compete, because like they are potentially leaving money on the table if they let Xbox just or Microsoft
run
just
unopposed.
You know, run on. Yeah, right. Exactly.
And even if the financials don't show it actually being that big of a difference, it's the narrative in the market of like Game Pass has been, you know, a quote unquote good story in the news for like the last year now. So even just from a narrative perspective.
One interesting bit of analysis I saw is that Sony doesn't even need to really compete or compare themselves to Game Pass to be successful. Say something with Game Pass that has like a 40% rate of you know, among its install base. You know, they don't even need to hit that number or compare that number. If they hit anything, you know, say higher than that 5% that they did, they're bringing in more money. They just have to do it. It will be a financial success regardless.
It's one of those things that actually people forget why Game Pass came to exist, and it's because Microsoft quickly saw themselves becoming the third wheel in the race in the industry, and needed something to stand out and create a reason for people to use their stuff. And that's why they were so aggressive with Game Pass and what they've been doing with it to grab people. And this is their plan right now. This is what they're going for. Buying all these studios, getting them all on Game Pass, because this is their new model. they lost the traditional war, so they've changed tactics. Nintendo and Sony are
100%.
still playing their own games in a way. Like Sony doesn't have to play
No.
the same market way that Microsoft did right there because they have a different share. Nintendo's always, marched to the beat of their own drum. That's why their online services are so much different than the other, especially when you look at the pricing, where the base tier of a Nintendo service is $20 a year, which is, that's a number that people stomach monthly for some services.
Yeah.
No, and I think the one other thing is like Sony is still leading Microsoft in terms of like revenue from games, like even before this, and like as of 2021. So like Sony really doesn't have to compete on Microsoft's terms.
Microsoft only has third of the market share, whatever, the fucking idiots were saying when they bought Activision.
I mean, I just like to think of it in like the last 2 years. Name me 5 really good Microsoft games that came out in the last 2 years. Bet you can name 5 really good Sony games that came out in the last 2 years a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not trying to be biased. That's just kind of how it feels at this point.
No, I think if you looked at Metacritic, you would see a probably similar result to what you just said, at least from a somewhat less subjective perspective.
So yeah, I mean, I agree, Matt, that like these companies can march to the beat of their own drum, but I think like they are forcing, regardless of that, they're forcing themselves into these, areas.
Yeah,
of the market.
You can see Nintendo. They added a tier. They added an extra bump on the subscription. Like, obviously, they're not going to stand by and not take advantage of certain things. It's just that they're not playing the same games right now. Everyone's got their own game that they're pushing and playing right now, and it's interesting.
Well, and I think,
least.
Well, and I think it is because you if you actually look at it from like a capitalist perspective to like see which model ends up prevailing once they like
it's
actually
probably going to be the Game Pass model, which is like the sad thing for me to say. Like, it's definitely built right now to compete in a different method.
It will be the Game Pass model because the Game Pass model drives the cheaper games, which is just gonna lead to more and more profitability.
I can't wait until
like
games are just like a 2-hour base story that you have to pay for 72 expansions to get the full game.
Yeah,
2 hours free on Game Pass.
You'll do that. They'll just be so shitty that like they won't spend any money, but you'll still be paying $120 a year, and then at that point, it's just pure profit for them.
So I have this graphic here that breaks down like the 3 main subscription services by their features. I don't really think we need to go through the whole thing because beyond some different pricing, obviously, which is important to understand the relative quote unquote value they're providing. But I think, and we've already touched on it, but like the major difference here is that Game Pass is the only one that does not provide a yearly price.
Yeah, that's
they're the only ones that are it's monthly only.
Their marketing has probably told them that people are more receptive to numbers that are smaller, and $15 a month sounds a lot better than what is that, 180 a year if you extrapolate that out linearly.
But I say with these aggressive, I mean, there are different levels of aggressiveness. I think obviously Sony tops it out.
Yes,
but like any of these yearly plans, they're always cheaper. It's
always I was just saying
always the thing. So
like how City Bike does their yearly broken down monthly. I was doing it the opposite way.
I think it's possible that, and I think it's kind of funny in terms of Microsoft's way. It's like potentially it's like, oh, it's cleaner. It's just it's less confusing. Just it's the one price for whatever of the different tiers. But then the tiers themselves in Game Pass are fucking weird to me. What you actually get in
because you have Xbox Live
never
Gold,
makes sense.
You have
to
Game
me.
Pass, which isn't connected to it, but then you have Game Pass Ultimate, which is connected to it.
Yeah, and then you've got like the Game Pass for console and Game Pass for PC, and it never makes sense.
As resident Xbox user and non-Sony pony,
you've got Ultimate, right? You've got Ultimate.
Yeah, I think I have like whatever the $15 one is. But what I was going to speak on was the not including the yearly, which is always confusing to me because one of the, and I don't see them like really moving or why they moved away from this is Xbox and Microsoft always had like the gift cards for Xbox Live where you like buy 3 months, 6 months.
You can still get
months.
those.
Exactly. You can still get those for
You can still
Xbox
get Game
Live,
Pass on
but
those
you can
cards
even
too.
buy the. Okay, so that was my question because they would like that was
They're
like
really popular at Christmas. You can see them on the kiosks at the front of stores.
Exactly, and like Amazon pushes them because you could buy like digital versions of them to give out as gifts. So I was curious if they
buying digital codes from
that.
Amazon just seems like such a risky move to me.
but you're buying them from
I know.
like
I'm just
hosted Microsoft or whatever. But yeah, so like and they have like the discount or whatever for buying it at like the the 3.6 or 12-month price. So I was curious if they still did that. So I guess poor Xbox user here for not knowing my Xbox marketing schemes.
Well, no, you live in New York City, so you don't go into the same amount of stores in the holidays that I do.
Don't even need to go in a store if I need to. Bodega.
I do think it's interesting that they don't like just let people who want to pay for a year in advance.
You can buy a card.
Again, I still think they're afraid
you can buy
a
card.
Like they're afraid of people seeing bigger numbers and being scared. Because like even like if you say $15 a month or you say $120 a year, I'm not trying to be mean here, but there are people who don't make that.
No, I mean that's like part of the plight of the poor. You buy cheaper stuff initially because you can't afford like a nice.
Yeah, what's that? Is that the work boot paradox where you have to buy cheap boots and then they wear out every 3 months, so you have to keep buying cheap boots instead of if you bought the nice boots and wore them for 5 years?
Yeah, essentially.
Also, the fluctuations in subscription can actually work to their benefit in terms of more marketing. They can always cite a high month as their,
just take the high number.
Look at how many people bought Game Pass for Halo Infinite.
Yeah, we've hit this milestone number, yet next month all those people are gone.
No, that's a fair
all
point.
those people. How many of them cashed in a free month? That's another one. They always cite numbers of subscribers. They don't tell you how many of them they gave away for free.
Well, and Matt, you're talking about all the like emails that you get to like resubscribe or whatever. Like that to me shows they're like really looking to what you're saying, Ben. Like they're looking to just boost their numbers to make it.
They're boosting the numbers.
Yeah, they're boosting the numbers. Like
the funny
Fauci
part about
guy.
the 3 months they gave me, it wouldn't let me shut off the auto resubscribe without canceling the other 2 months right away. So it's one of those like they're 100% doing what they're trying to do, and that's why I haven't done it yet. It's just like
they're trying to catch you lacking, trying to like you're gonna eke out those 3 free months, but then you forgot to cancel it the day before.
Yep.
Thank you for your generous contribution to the the Microsoft fund.
Yeah. Little do they know that Matt is a functioning adult who uses his calendar.
Yeah,
you're not wrong. I could if I ever redeem that 3 months, there will be a calendar date on the last month rollover, so that I can go in and cancel on the 3rd month before it even has to be an issue.
I just play the risk game of, will I remember to cancel this before?
It's such a risky move, man. Like I smoke way too much weed to play that game.
Ignore it.
Yeah. No, the best ones are where you can do the free thing and cancel it right away.
Yep.
Yes.
And still just
and I think that they do that.
Trial.
I think that they do that on the first like free month. Yeah.
Because that's what I did immediately.
Exactly. They're trying to, entice Matt, but they're like, we need to get something on our end.
Here's 3 months. But if you activate the 3 months, you can't cancel yet.
And we already mentioned it like briefly, but I think it's clear even beyond the PlayStation Plus announcement. It's for me, it's the GTA Plus subscription service that has really cemented it for me. That's like, oh no, yeah, we're going the same, the exact same way the video game industry is going the exact same way as
What does it pay
television
you?
and movies.
Half a million GTA bucks a month?
Dude, I
Yeah.
love that. I
But
love
it's-
that feature so
it's
much.
just like, every single game, every single major property that you enjoy is going to be gated behind yet another subscription service that inflates itself with this
GTA 6 is
artificial
just going to be
value.
an online MMO. Change my mind.
But like this is also how they can like start introducing NFTs and shit. Like they're essentially making GTA dollars their own little like market.
No, it's a currency.
Does it not
a
feel like
currency.
the
Like,
work
they're doing
literally
fiat.
making it a
in the
currency.
1900s?
They're doing
Yeah.
fiat.
Exactly. It's fucking nuts.
You
This
get
is
your
our
money
future.
to go
It's
to the
great.
mining store, and you get the money from the mining company.
So that shit happened in America, man. That shit was
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, doesn't Walmart give out like Walmart
Yeah,
tokens?
I think
or-
they still do shit like that. But I
Yeah,
mean, like the mining town
company
shit.
money. Yeah,
Yeah,
company
mining
towns
town
and
shit was like
money.
company towns.
Get paid more if you take it in Walmart bucks.
get 20% back if you spend it at
Yeah.
Walmart.
So I don't think you're wrong at all that like this is the route that we're going, or like the entertainment is going. But I sometimes wonder. I mean, GTA is like ripe for this and has always kind of been an innovator, I guess. But I wonder how much like no pixel and people like playing GTA modded out like kind of pushed.
Just gonna
GTA
ask you to
to-
put your tinfoil hat on for a second, adjust it counterclockwise a turn. Do you think they weren't behind No Pixel and some of the corporate push to get the game back out and on the front page again?
I mean, yeah, that's interesting.
GTA was
They had
was
to have been.
dying.
They had to have been. Yeah, they had to have been.
That's fair.
And they can't have the only
My
game they're
tinfoil hat's
releasing for the
on.
past 2 decades die.
It's crazy.
Okay. All right. I mean, I guess my point still stands, but just in a different direction.
No, I'm just gonna turn
Yeah.
the cap counterclockwise and take it back off. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, I mean, again, I think it's set in stone now. I think this is where we're going to be for at least the next decade, probably. Say at least through this generation, if not the next.
No, it certainly feels like this is the game industry on a almost kind of like a 10-year lag to where media and like TV and movies were, and we're just quickly accelerating on this like Netflix streaming model, which
And
we've
it's just
seen,
it's a
we've seen the drop off
technology
in
lag.
quality. It's gonna happen here.
I can't wait
Yeah,
until
exactly. It was
in
driven by
10
that.
years when every company just has their own streaming stick that they send you when you get the service, and you have to plug it into your TV
Yeah.
directly. And
Yep. You got to switch it out to
Yeah.
play.
you've only got 4 HDMI ports, but you have From Software Play, EA Play, Ubisoft Connect, and Game Pass, and you got to plug each of them in. And
It's a dark thought.
No, it's definitely a technology lag, and now that they've been able to do streaming, I think the success of mobile games is definitely critical.
mobile
to
games
this
and Horse
move.
Armor DLC were the 2 things that put down.
The end of games.
All right, but with all that said, probably still going to subscribe. Let's be real.
Oh no, I'm absolutely
100%.
going premium.
I think I like have to. I think I'm already subscribed technically.
Right.
You've
Right.
given like a blood oath to Sony,
Yeah.
so I'm saying like you better contact them and be like, "Where are my shares?"
Yeah.
Do I get shares
Give me
because
money.
I had a PS Vita? And not only did I have a PS Vita, I had a PS Vita TV.
that is
Wow.
So you both need to get shares, and they need to be like backdated to the price of your first Sony purchase,
I'll take that.
and then Sony eats the cost of the rest of that price.
I'll take
Oh, I
that.
see Matt going to get
Call
his
me Sony.
PlayStation Vita. No, what is this? Is
Call
it
me
Is
Sony.
it the TV thing? Is it
the Vita TV?
Look at that.
Is this like Sony's version of Apple TV?
basically?
That's
I think
incredible.
PS
Like a
Vita TV
proto-
is
is it a
the
proto
PS Vita
Apple?
hardware without the
Mhm.
display that plugs into an HDMI
Yep.
and plays PS Vita games off cartridge, and it's literally just the PS Vita interface but on a TV.
So it's like a
Interesting.
proto Switch.
And I
Right.
could play
No
it.
docking or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's just a permanently docked version, and it could play
Yeah,
PS Now. And this is how I played PS3 games, was off this with the PS Now plugged into the Ethernet.
Hilarious.
Amazing.
And it's still got a Sony PS Vita memory card in it. 8 gigabytes. I think I bought this for fucking $60.
8 gigabytes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh man.
Because the PS Vita memory cards were like the biggest scam.
Gotta love that proprietary tech, man.
Has
Yeah,
memory
especially
cards
because it's
always
100% just a micro SD card.
Yeah. Same with the Nintendo one. Like, you're better off getting the Nintendo one, even though it's just a micro SD card.
No, the micro SD cards for the Switch are all normal and standard.
Oh.
Nintendo just has branded ones that have fancy artwork on them because they're Nintendo.
Yeah, they-
I might have. I
Yeah,
might,
it's got like a it's got a Pokeball on it or something.
Yeah.
might have been got.
All right.
It's okay.
So as we all enjoy laughing at Mike, I think that's a good place
Perfect
to end
ending.
it for today.
I'm just glad I got to show
Um,
off my Vita TV to you guys finally.
Yeah, Mike Brown showing himself to be the real gamer.
Yeah.
No, this thing's sick.
It's like an archaeological.
I bought this for
episode.
$30
Yeah.
and it came with the Lego movie game.
That alone,
Hilarious.
that's $30 for any type of game interface. That's amazing.
That's a deal.
Again, reject modernity, embrace tradition, folks. That's the final message we leave you with. Time for plugs. I already hit it at the top, but come watch us on Twitch, twitch.tv/campaign_comrades. Follow us on Twitter at CampCompod. And I think that's it. Until next time.
Hey.
All right, boys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.